tell it to Jesus alone. Do the tears flow down your cheeks unbidden? Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. Have you sins that to men's eyes are hidden? Tell it to Jesus alone. Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. He is a friend that's well known. You've no other such a friend or brother. Tell it to Jesus alone. Do you fear the gathering clouds of sorrow? Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. Are you anxious what shall be tomorrow? Tell it to Jesus alone. Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. He is a friend that's well known. You've no other such a friend or brother. Tell it to Jesus alone. Are you troubled at the thought of dying? Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. For Christ coming, kingdom you are sighing. Tell it to Jesus alone. Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. He is a friend that's well known. You've no other such a friend or brother. Tell it to Jesus alone. Thank you.
Well, good evening. Y'all look like happy campers out there. All right, let's go to the Lord in prayer then. You have a request that you want to make mention of by outspoken or uplift of hands, or you want to shout and run around for a while and pray, that's all right too. I'll sit down because I'm not feeling good. I'm telling you, I'm not feeling good. We've had a day and night, especially last night, pretty bad. So, any outspoken? All right, any others? Yeah, we've had some bad, severe weather. A lot of lives were lost. 20 some, they said. It's just completely gone, the pictures of it, yet. All right? We want to remember those that were in those storms and anyone else. I'll remember that. Any others? George, yeah. All right, Brother Dino, would you lead us in prayer? Yes, Lord. Amen. Okay, chapter number 26 in the book of Job, short chapter, and chapter number 25 and 26 tonight. Tonight will end Job's three friends and end the conversation that they're having. And chapter 25, if you'll see, he just rambles. Bildad just rambles, more or less repeating himself from what he had said previously. And this will continue, or this will complete their analysis of, I guess you could say, what's wrong with Job. And so, chapter 25, verse 1, he says, Then answered Bildad the Shunammite and said, Dominion and fear are with him. He maketh peace in his high places. Is there any number of his armies, and upon whom doth not his light arise? Well, who's going to disagree with that statement? But would you agree that Bildad is making a true statement about God? He says, how then can man be justified with God? Or how can he be clean that is born of a woman? Behold, even to the moon it shineth not, yea, the stars are not pure in his sight. How much less man this is a worm, and the Son of Man, which is a worm. Of course, Bildad knows nothing about God's grace, because Bildad, in my opinion, does not have a working relationship with Christ or with God. He didn't have it. And he has, apparently, he studied the Bible, but has a head knowledge, but not what? A heart knowledge. So he does not love God. He does not respond to who God is. The statement that he made, you could pick that out and say, well, he's saying the truth here. That's true. So Job's going to respond to that, and we'll try to get those verses in. It said, but Job answered and said, how hast thou helped him that is without power? What's Job saying here? Huh? Guys, will you get me a water? I'm not going to make it. I'm not making no excuse, but if I'm acting a little bit out of it, I was very sick last night, and I have no strength whatsoever, so I may have to quit on you. But he's saying, man, you ain't helped me one bit, if I put it in my own words. And he's talking about his other friends too. He said, you've not helped me one bit. How savest thou the arm that hath no strength? Right. He's like me. He's poor in strength tonight. And he said, how in the world can you help me when you don't have no strength? Hast thou counseled him that has no wisdom, and hast thou plentiful declared the thing as it is? Job is still maintaining his innocence and saying, you know, what you've said has not done anything to help me. If anything, it's hurt me. To whom hast thou uttered words, and whose spirit came from thee? Dead things are formed from under the waters and into the inhabitants thereof. And hell is naked before him, and destruction hath no covering. He stretcheth out the north over the empty place, and hangeth the earth upon nothing. He bindeth up the waters in his thick clouds, and the cloud is not rent upon them. He holdeth back the face of his throne, and spreadeth his cloud upon it. And he has compassed the waters with bounds until the day and night come to an end. The pillars of heaven tremble and are astonished at his reproof. He divided the sea with his power, and by his understanding he smiteth through the proud. And by his spirit he hath garnished the heavens. And his hands have formed the crooked, all right, formed the crooked, lost my place. He has compassed the waters with bounds, and until the day and night come to an end, and the pillars of heaven tremble and are astonished at his reproof. He divideth the sea with his power, and by his understanding he smiteth through the proud. By his spirit he hath garnished the heavens, and his hands have formed the crooked serpent. Lo, these are parts of his ways, but how little a portion is heard of him. But the thunder of his power, and who can understand? Job, I think, sees, and Job knows that God is a sovereign God, and that his supreme authority is over what? Everything. Everything. Everything is submissive to God. We can understand it. It's like the story that we find in the New Testament when Jesus has fed the 5,000. And there's a lunatic on the other side. There's a man on the other side who needs Christ, of a sea that they're separated by. And God knows that he needs to get there. And so they get on a little ship and a storm comes up. You know the story well. And they're tossed to and fro, and he's asleep in the hind part of the ship. And the men come to him and wake him up, and they're terrified. And he said, "O ye of little faith." And he gets up, and he speaks peace to the wind and the sea. And they make this comment: What kind of man is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him? What kind of man is this? And that's what Job is saying here. What kind of God do we serve today, who's able to do the things he talked about here? Do you not think that God knows what I need in my life and what you need in your life? Do you think God is not aware of when you hurt or when you're in need? God is all aware of that. If a sparrow can fall to the ground and God knows about it, when we fall, God knows about it. When we hurt, God knows about it. And Job was trying to teach his these three men. But now, that's it. That's the end of their conversation. The next person that we'll see comment will be a man by the name of Elihu. Elihu, I believe is the way you pronounce it. Elihu. And we'll see him on over about chapter 32 or 33. But what we can take away from this, what can we take away tonight, do you think? Well, I think Job will agree with the friends at the end of the wicked people here. It'll all come to an end. And that punishment will be given out, and God will punish the wicked. On the contrary, Job was pleading with God here to consider his faithfulness, consider that he loves the Lord, and to consider him here. He's appealing to God's grace. And God does show grace and mercy to Job. All right, is there any thoughts or questions? Verse 4. Is that what you said? In chapter 26. To whom hast thou uttered words, and whose spirit came from thee? Bildad, yeah. Right. Absolutely.
I would feel bad, I'd feel about that high, wouldn't you?
Yeah, Job does not beat around the bush. All right, any other thoughts? I had one in verse 5. I thought that was the one you was talking about. The dead things are formed from under the waters, and the inhabitation thereof. They had quite a unique language between the three. It was very unique. Gives us insight to them how they communicated. Of course, I believe it was. This was. Okay. All right. Any other thoughts? All right. All right, David, you dismiss us.